Hi, and welcome to Upbeat Updates, good news from neighbors we know. I'm your host, Yvonne Morrison with MVP Video and Promotions, and today we have Suzanne Brown, who is founder and executive director of Peace Reins in Chapel Hill. And Suzanne and her staff use horses to help veterans, and that sounds fascinating. How do you use horses to help veterans?
They actually help anybody that's experienced trauma, so that's a pretty wide swath of the population. Veterans specifically, there's a few reasons that they share very similar physical characteristics with veterans. So, A, they can sense heartbeat, respiration, and muscle tension from 30 feet away. They are run first, ask questions later. They can see 340 degrees, so they have a spot in the back and a spot behind their tail that they can't see, and they have 170 degrees of ear rotation, so they're hyper vigilant, in other words, which is what veterans become, especially if they've done combat duty. The creators of the programming we use at the Equus Effect succinctly put it that horses allow a safe space for veterans to become re-embodied, and that's it. That's the meat of the question is right there.
How does that happen? Are they riding the horses? Are they working with them in another way? How do they do that?
The horses do all the work in our program. We're just there to kick them back into play. We're the co-facilitators. The horses are really the healers in this work. We do two different things during this programming. We teach veterans and other participants how to manage the horse, how to care for it, how to groom it, how to walk it, how to stop it, all the basics. And there's also a middle section where we're looking at emotional agility from a 5,000 foot level. Emotions are kind of like an oil light in the car. They're there to give you information that then you can investigate. It's not the oil light that's going to give you trouble, it's what it's representing. It's the same thing with the horses. Emotions look a specific way in them and a specific way in humans. So we want to look at them just to say, well, is this fear or is this really vulnerability I'm looking at?
So when they are grooming and working with the horses, I guess the horses are telling them in real time, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling about how you're brushing me, or the energy you're bringing to me right now with the movement of their ears and their body language, because they communicate with body language, correct?
They do.
So how does that body language help reinforce the emotional support for the veteran?
Excellent question. They have to, veterans, well, all of us actually, really can't be in a relationship with horse until we're present. That's what they teach, present moment awareness. We're constantly working with ourselves and our participants, veterans, first responders, and the like, to learn how to be present. You have to be in your body and authentic to have a relationship with a horse. It's a prey animal. Like you said, it's going to sense your energy, and it's either going to not want to be around you or want to stay around you. So in order to manage that relationship, in order to be a partner with the horse, you have to be in your body. You have to be present. It doesn't matter whether you're calm or not. It just wants you to be you.
So if they come to their session and they're uptight and maybe they're reliving some of the trauma they've experienced, will the horses stay with them? Will they want to back away? Does the veteran have to calm him or herself down first? How does that work?
They do not. We had an instance just last week where we had a veteran participant, and she was working very hard to be calm for Bud, and Bud's a really good teacher. Very, very quiet, very, very stealthy, but he's a really good teacher. And I said, he doesn't want you to be calm for him. He wants you to be you for him. So if you've had some traumatic experience on the way, let's say somebody nearly ran you off the road, you can come in and tell Bud all about it. He's fine with that. He just wants to know what this energy is that's roiling your system inside. So the more you tell him and the more you actually just feel those feelings, the happier he is.
So how many horses are in your program, and do they have to undergo any special training, or are they just themselves all the time?
They are themselves all the time. We have 5 in our string currently. They reside on Therapy Row, as we call it, at the farm. They don't. They need to be horses. That's what makes them good at the work. It's just their natural horseness. I mean, they've been on the planet 55 million years, so they've learned to do something right. And they do this work just amazingly well.
So when veterans are working with them, grooming or doing an exercise maybe that you're having them do, what do you see? What are they experiencing and what are you seeing happen right in front of you?
Wow. That's why we do this work. It feeds our souls. There are folks who get it the very first day and they're like, well, I'll be dealing with my kids and my wife much differently now. And we're like, okay, you've graduated. You don't need to come back. There are other folks that don't get it till the very last day, and there are folks who don't make it through the program. It's not therapy per se, but it is therapeutic, and things will come up. And if you're not ready to work through them, you're not going to be comfortable, no matter who's there, or if it's a Shetland pony or a 17-pound warm blood, 17-hand warm blood.
From our experience with horses, the ponies are they're the troublemakers. Yes. So, they bring a bit of their own attitude.
They do. Yes, they do. It really varies by the person. And Yvonne, inevitably, when the veterans come in for their very first day and we have the volunteers standing there with the horses that we're using, and I usually let the ladies go first if there's ladies in the group, and they pick out the horse they want to work with, inevitably we will know exactly who they're going to pick before they even get out there. It's just that, because it's the temperament of the horse, it's the temperament of the person and what they're trying to get out of this, and you can almost feel it happen. We had I always tell this story and it always gets me choked up. We had a Vietnam veteran, first fall that we did this program in November. He was very self-deprecating. He was very apologetic all the time to the horses, like, why would they put up with me? That was constant self-talk. And he loved Bud, just loved Bud. And about week 3, he said, now you guys don't switch these horses up on us. Of course, if you say that, we're going to do that. So the next week he came in and there was another horse, Johnny, that looks a lot like Bud. Everybody went to their horse and stopped dead in his track to just like, that's not Bud. Yeah. And he didn't look back at us, and we're waiting to hear it from him. He walks forward, and Johnny, he gives him his hand so he can introduce himself, and he reaches down to get a brush, goes to move into Johnny's neck to start grooming him. Johnny reached around his back and just pulled him into his chest. And we just were, exactly.
Like,
I'm not crying. We're not crying.
Oh, yeah.
And he was still just as self-deprecating the whole day, but it was done. It was all done with Johnny. And then Johnny was his second favorite. But that happens all the time. Things like happen all the time. It's just the best work ever.
Do the horses kind of rotate in and out of the program, or is it the same one, usually session after session?
It's the same 5. We have, current session has 2 veterans, and we actually picked which horses we wanted to work with a lot because Bud has a girlfriend there named Katie. So we bring them both in so there's no yelling from afar. Most times we're using more than 2, but we use typically the same horses throughout the session unless somebody says something like, don't you switch these horses up on us? And we do. So we may do that this session because one of the veterans that's working with Bud said something similar. So that may happen in week 4. We'll see.
So how do veterans hear about your program?
Most of those participants come from veteran organizations. So we've worked with folks like the Raleigh Vet Center or the Harnett County Veterans Court. We've worked with vets from the VA. We've worked with vets now. We started a marketing campaign for the Triangle and North Carolina Counseling listserv. So we send it directly to counselors, and if they're working with veterans or first responders, they get information. And we've worked with, I think, 4 or 5 of their clients so far.
So at the end, so the veterans sign up for the program. At the end of their session, what do you hope they've accomplished or they've attained? Like, what have you seen in the transformation?
The marketing piece says, better manage the emotions in their lives and in themselves. That's the marketing piece. There are veterans that have gone on to return to Veterans Court, and that's, of course, an organization to help veterans navigate the justice system without getting stuck in the justice system. And they've told judges, and we've been told secondhand, that they told the judge that the reason they were doing so well is that Peace Reins saved their lives.
Really? Oh, I'm going to cry again.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
There are
That's
others
incredible.
that we had a gentleman in our first session and he was very, very quiet. He spent a lot of time, he was working with Zeus and then with Bud, and he spent a lot of time just kind of laying over Bud during the grooming session. And you're like, but it's whatever works for you. And before he even finished the 5-week session, he said, I want to come back and be a volunteer. We're like, excellent. Excellent. So he got trained as a volunteer, came back for session 2 or 3, has been a volunteer since. He's now on the board, and he's almost finished training as a co-facilitator.
That is fabulous. That's
He calls
incredible.
it, horse magic. It changed his life. We hear it all the time.
So how many veterans are typically in a session? 5 because of the 5 horses, or does it vary?
We can do 5. 5's a very busy day because you got to have your head on a swivel, as you know, with that many horses in an arena. It can vary. We've had as few as 1. And we've worked with 1. We always ask, are you comfortable being the only veteran here? But it's typically 3 or 4. That's the average. We've just graduated our 40th veteran, so in a couple weeks we'll be graduating 41 and 42.
Wow. Yeah. That's fantastic. And Peace Reins has been in existence how long?
Existence was way back, but our first session was actually scheduled for April 1st, 2020, which of course didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we moved to the new farm, the beautiful facility at Clearwind Farm, and the first session was September of 2021. So yeah, we're just ending our 4th year. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Are there veterans who come in fearful and afraid of the horses? I mean, they sign up realizing, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway.
What's interesting is they typically don't tell us. Of course, they're veterans. Why would they tell you?
Yeah.
I'm really frightened. Then they'll typically get the perfect horse for that. That first session that I told you about, we had a gentleman there, I think he was a Marine veteran, and he had Muffin. Muffin's like a whole nother story, and he's an excellent teacher as well. And he was using the curry comb on Muffin, and Muffin's an Appaloosa with spots. And I said, you're going to need to move down. You're going to rub that spot off if you continue rubbing in that position. And he came out during our lunch break and said, I was so terrified. I wanted to run screaming from the indoor arena. And I'm like, why didn't you tell somebody? I just wanted to get, and he had the most glowing review afterwards. Do it, no matter how much horse experience you have.
That is fantastic. Yeah. That says so much about what you're doing.
Like I said, it feeds my soul, and it's just a joy to watch people go through it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And as someone who loves being around horses, I feel deep down what these veterans must feel, because Saturday I was on my way to the barn. Someone cut me off on the interstate. Someone else pulled right out in front of me on one of those back roads. So I'm in my truck and I'm kind of fussing, and I thought, nah, I'm on my way to the barn. Mm-hmm. I'm on my way to be with horses. Mm-hmm. This is all good. Mm-hmm. Everything's fine. And I have not been through the trauma that a veteran has been through. So I can imagine if the horses do that for me just after a little aggravation, what it must mean to them after everything they've been through.
We had the session we're in now, we're about to do week 3 is tomorrow. So in the first week, and we've got 2 veterans in this session, and the woman that's in this session said, I've spent years looking for something that will help me do this, and you do it on the very first day. And she says, I don't remember the last time I felt this calm and peaceful. First day, and that was Bud. We didn't have anything to do with it. Well, the beautiful farm helps a lot, but that's Bud's energy. That's what he does.
That is amazing. That's truly amazing. Suzanne, thank you so much for being with us today. This was a fascinating conversation. And there's so many people who love animals and have dogs and cats or pigs or chickens or whatever they have that make them feel good. I would encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity to interact with and be around horses, don't pass that up.
For sure.
Don't pass that up.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the great questions. It was great to see you again.
You're welcome. And thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate you watching. And if you would like to nominate someone for Upbeat Updates, please go to the website at the bottom of your screen and fill out the form. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.